University of Illinois campus, UI7 News, your U of I news source.
Good evening, I'm Victoria Snell.
And I'm Dan Collins.
Tonight we're going to change things up from our regular newscast.
Instead, we have a special edition of UI7 News called Cheers to Volunteers.
So sit back, unwind, and get ready to meet some treasured people who give their time to help others in the community. The assistant chief at the Daily Bread Soup Kitchen in Champaign has one day of the week she doesn't miss. We'll see what she does on that day.
A Mahomet man reflects on his time fighting fires and the person who urges him to continue.
You can't have a ballet performance without the proper attire. Find out what set of helping hands is involved with the outfits.
A non-for-profit human society cares for over 50 horses at a time, and the organization relies on its volunteers for a lot of help. We'll hear what one of those helping hands enjoys most about tending to the animals.
One of the most common places to find volunteers is in a small town, Illinois Fire Department.
The Corn Belt Fire Department of Mahomet relies on its team of volunteer firefighters. Joining us now is UI7's Caroline Ann.
The Corn Belt Fire Department of Mahomet is not your average department. See how one community member came to Corn Belt and has not left since. Steve Elkins had retired from his career when his wife encouraged him to get involved in volunteer work. As a Mahomet resident, he turned to the Corn Belt Fire Department to serve as a volunteer firefighter. It was just what he was looking for.
Getting to know the people in the community and the camaraderie between the other firefighters. You build lifelong friendships.
Elkins spends most of his days at the department, whether it is giving fire safety demonstrations or working with new equipment. He knows just about everything at Corn Belt. Elkins is a veteran here at Corn Belt Fire Department. He has been with the department for 35 years, 5 of which have been as assistant chief. Fire Chief John Kohler says Elkins is his right-hand man.
You know, Steve's been in the fire service actually much longer than I have, and learning some of the history of the department and just talking about his experiences and things like that kind of guided me through.
There are about 45 firefighters at Corn Belt, and most of them are volunteers. Training is a year-long process, which includes learning how to put on gear and equipment, hose operations, search and rescue techniques, and most importantly, getting to the scene as quick as possible, which is what Elkins enjoys most.
You're usually there on a bad day for them, and you are able to help them through it.
Corn Belt Fire Department is a family.
If anyone on this department ever needs anything, I mean, you'll find 10, 12 of the guys jump up.
What started as a simple way to get involved has become much more. In Mahomet, Caroline Ann, UI7 News.
Firefighters are sometimes used to smoky environments, but it's time to learn about a volunteer who enjoys fresh air and good produce. UI7's Anissa McClinton tells you about a Champaign woman who dedicates her time to the Randolph Community Garden.
Dawn Blackman has been the garden steward at the Randolph Street Community Garden for the past 10 years. Since starting, she has visited the garden almost every day.
I can be out here for a half hour by myself. And then before I leave, 10 or 12 people will have come. So when people see somebody gardening, they feel more comfortable coming in, I guess, too.
The garden holds various functions, from community celebrations to midday visits from school children. But the main goal of the garden is to bring community members together while they produce their own fresh food. At the Randolph Street Community Garden, volunteers are welcome anytime. And when you first get started, pulling weeds is a common task. This season, Mother Dawn starts her day at the garden by pulling weeds to make room for new produce. In addition to gardening, Mother Dawn runs the food pantry at the Champaign Church of the Brethren and often brings community members to the garden to pick fresh produce. Rietta Mulvaney has been volunteering with Mother Dawn for 6 years and feels they have developed a sisterhood.
You know, I feel like I'm growing and doing more of a purpose by participating with her, and that's giving me a great feeling. She's just a God-sent kind of person. We do have angels here on earth, and I think she's one of them.
Mother Dawn enjoys uniting the community while increasing their access to fresh foods.
So this is kind of like my backyard. It's become the community backyard.
In Champaign, I'm Anissa McClinton, UI7 News.
The Champaign Urbana Ballet has been a performing arts stable for nearly 20 years. UI7's Alice Smolansky will tell you what this means for people both on and off the ballet stage.
In just a few weeks, the CU Ballet will put on its spring production, Coppelia. The dancers will tell a story of a village youth who falls in love with a life-size dancing doll. But behind the theatrics are volunteers like Alicia Trezise. Her son is in the ballet, and she sews costumes together and helps with rehearsals. Trezise says volunteering at the CU Ballet is easy.
The CU Ballet has given such a great opportunity to my son and has just really given him so many wonderful things in addition to learning how to dance.
Trezise's son, Nick Hiddle, auditioned for his first role in the ballet at 8 years old. He was cast as a mouse in The Nutcracker.
Ballet's taught me just to be the best I can be all the time.
Hiddle enrolled in classes after his performance in The Nutcracker, and Trezise stayed involved as a volunteer. She started out with 12 volunteer hours that are required from the performers' families, but now she spends about 5 to 6 hours a week sewing together costumes for all the shows. The CU Ballet has two main productions. These costumes will be used in Coppelia, the upcoming performance in May. And Trezise often takes costumes home so she can make sure they're ready in time for the show. The additional hours are worth it for her because of the impact the ballet has had on her son.
It's helped his academics and his character and his confidence, that it makes it very easy for me as a family member to want to give back.
Hiddle is graduating high school in May, and like his mom, he sees himself volunteering for a local ballet company in the future. In Champaign, I'm Alice Smolansky, UI7 News.
So I'm watching, trying to get ideas on how we could volunteer, but a firefighter, see ya, way too claustrophobic.
Definitely not brave enough for that.
Out of there as soon as I see the smoke. A gardener, I don't know about you, I'm the kind of guy who's going to get the thorns stuck. A seamstress, that's possible. That's something you maybe do as a kid growing up. My mom never taught me how to be a seamstress, nor a gardener. Firefighter, no. Always wanted to slide down one of the poles, though.
I was going to say, my mom did teach me how to sew when I was younger, so I do know how to do that. Not brave enough for a firefighter, but no. I do enjoy flowers every now and then, so I think I could do that.
I was a firefighter for Halloween once, if that counts. I don't know if that, I wasn't fighting no fires, I was just getting candy.
Well, talking about these volunteers might make some wonder. Which state has the highest volunteer rate?
What do you think, Tori? Is it Utah, Wisconsin, Illinois, or Louisiana?
Well, since we're talking about volunteers in the Champaign-Urbana area, I wonder if our state could actually be it.
That is a great guess. Stay tuned for the answer coming up. We take an inside look at the Daily Bread Soup Kitchen. Up next, meet a woman who has volunteered there almost every Tuesday for the past 25 years.
Also, an 8th grader in the CU community takes time out to organize food drives for people in need. Stick around.
Welcome back to our special edition called Cheers to Volunteers.
Tonight we're looking at some of the people in the Champaign-Urbana area who give their time to help others.
Before the break, we had a trivia question for you about volunteers. The question was, which state has the highest volunteer rate? And the answer is Utah. Utah has a volunteer rate of just over 40%.
Thank you. Champaign's Daily Bread Soup Kitchen is a volunteer group that serves food for anyone that's hungry.
UI7's Keith Lee is here to tell us more about a volunteer who helps at the soup kitchen.
Anyone who goes to Daily Bread Soup Kitchen can get a full course meal from entree to dessert. Have a look at how the crew carries out the day's work of serving 200 people.
At Randolph and White Street in Champaign, there is Daily Bread and Soup Kitchen, where anyone that's hungry can get food.
We don't have any requirements. Anybody who walks in the door gets fed a plate. No questions asked.
Every day the volunteers come at around 8:30 and start preparing everything. The food, dishes, silverware, beverages, diary, coffee, in only about 2 hours until they start serving the food.
We have an entree every day. Today we had chicken, potatoes, green beans, I think it was green beans, fruit salad, dessert, regular fruit, lettuce salad, soup. We also send everybody home with a sack lunch for an evening meal, although we have noticed that a lot of our guests will eat their sack lunch on the way out the door.
So because I got hungry, I also got a plate, which I'm eating right now.
Karen Pickard is a former teacher who joined the crew about 6 years ago. She shares her experience of interacting with the guests that pay frequent visits.
Nice guy. His name is Joe, and he calls it Mama's Place because he said it's the closest thing that he feels to going home to eat at his mother's house.
When I think of Tuesdays, I think of the soup kitchen. That's where I've been for the last 25 years worth of Tuesdays.
It's these kinds of stories that make me know that everyone who comes here is here for a particular reason. And it doesn't matter to me what that reason is. I just know they're here and they're getting a good meal. And that makes the volunteer job very easy.
In Champaign, I'm Keith Lee, UI7 News.
From dining in to delivery, a Champaign kid has a knack for bringing food to those in need. Here's a look at how he gets it done. Matthew Pianfetti comes off as your average kid. He enjoys soccer, has a fascination with Star Wars, video games, is involved with the Boy Scouts, and strives to be a straight-A student. But it's the work he does in his community that helps define him as a person. The 8th grader from Franklin Middle School started volunteering in his community around the age of 5. His first volunteering experience was with the Illinois Food Bank. It was then he learned about the struggles many people go through just to get a meal. One of Matthew's biggest eye-opening experiences happened when he was passing out food baskets for Thanksgiving a couple years ago.
One of the families that came to pick up one of the baskets was a family of a kid that went to my school. And when I saw that, I realized that it's not just something that you hear on the radio that's actually happening. I actually do know people that are going hungry. And so that's when I thought I wanted to help them out more and help feed those people that needed it.
Matthew is currently a Life Scout, his badge right here on the same Boy Scout shirt that he's been wearing for the past 6 years. Up next for Matthew, to be an Eagle Scout. One of Matthew's recent volunteer works was done for his Eagle Scout project and sponsored by Feeding Our Kids, an organization based in Champaign County. With the help of his mom, dad, and his 3 younger siblings, Matthew organized an abundance of food for his food drive. One of those 3 siblings, Nicholas, also known as the household's smooth classic jazz pianist, says he's learned a lot about leadership and dedication from his older brother.
He will put off the things that he wants to do to the things that he needs to do. Most of the times that means locking his door and spending a couple hours working on homework.
Matthew is heading to Centennial High School in the fall. He hasn't decided how much volunteering he'll continue to do, but says it's something he'd like to continue because of the eye-opening experiences he's had with it.
Could have done it without you.
Matthew is not the only one who enjoys providing packaged meals to community members. There's also a woman whose passion led her to contribute to feeding families. In the Champaign-Urbana area, UI7's Vanetta Sims has the story.
How you doing? All right, how are you? Doing good. Okay. Yeah.
Ellen Abel volunteers 4 days a week, averaging 20 hours to assist families in need. Though Abel is a retiree, she says she couldn't be happier.
I do feel a lot of joy. I mean, there's a lot of hard work to it, and I have aches and pains when I go home at night on occasions from the standing and the heavy lifting. But there's joy in it.
Volunteer Sapar says Abel is a joy to work with and a great leader to other volunteers.
She has been working for the food pantry for a long time. She puts in a lot of hours each week, and it's a lot of backbreaking work.
Abel took over St. Vincent's Pantry in 2008 and has since formed everlasting relationships with the families they serve.
Well, it's like family. We see a lot of people who come back each time. We recommend not coming any more frequently than once every other week.
Abel says she's lucky to live a privileged life and knows the importance of helping people that can't afford food and necessities.
I could be in this situation, and I would want to have a place where I feel comfortable, that my dignity is honored, and that I can get the food or the items that I need.
The local pantry pre-packages food nightly in preparation for families that need to be served.
We call them baggers who come in, and they put canned goods are on the bottom of the bag, and then it goes to the lighter items.
A table such as this one allows members of the community to pick out one additional item of the packages they receive.
There's a great need in our community and in all communities.
In Urbana, Vanetta Sims, UI7 News.
So, Matthew, he must have been such a saint when you talked to him. I mean, to know somebody in your community that needs help and to actually go see a need and fill it.
Well, there's actually a quick side story I have about that. So when I went over to his house, his mother told me that in the heart of winter, he volunteered outside of Walmart for a food drive, and they literally had to come up with a rotation sheet so they wouldn't get frostbitten in 14-degree weather, taking turns going in and out of Walmart so they wouldn't get frostbitten in 14-degree weather. Just
That's
absolutely amazing.
Definitely commitment. I remember when I was in high school, I volunteered at a food organization called Feed My Starving Children, and we kind of packaged food as well. It kind of felt really fulfilling to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So did you ever wonder what the first volunteer organization was in the U.S.?
I want to say it probably has something to do with food.
Well, the options are YMCA, Bureau of Volunteer Service, American Red Cross, or Volunteer Firefighting Company. We'll have the answer coming up soon.
But before the answer comes up, we have to still talk about more of that heartwarming segment that we just had. One really good thing I think we noticed there was the diversity within the age range of those who were volunteering, whether it was somebody like Matthew who's an 8th grader or it was somebody who was a little bit older acting like a sports, acting like that. But a Champaign woman found her calling to open a bookstore after receiving a message from God. Later found out where she donates the books.
And a volunteer for Big Brother, Big Sister program shoots hoops to bond with his mentee. That story coming up next. We're back with more of our special program about volunteers in the Champaign-Urbana area.
We call the program Cheers to Volunteers because these people are worth celebrating and toasting for, giving their time to others.
Before our last break, we asked you a trivia question. Here's the question again. What was the first volunteer service in the United States? And the answer is Volunteer Firefighting Company. Benjamin Franklin founded the first volunteer firehouse in 1736, which is still popular today.
Around the community, many children often look for guidance. Big Brothers Big Sisters matches kids with an adult buddy to change their lives for the better.
One volunteer has made it his mission to make a difference. UI7's Kara Garvey tells you how this man has been a shoulder to lean on for a kid in need.
This is Jim Powell, a family man, science nerd, and a die-hard Kentucky basketball fan. But there's more than meets the eye. Powell has worked to impact the lives of kids as a volunteer for the Big Brothers Big Sisters program. The Champaign resident has volunteered for the organization for 12 years. He's been 8-year-old Zamari's buddy for just about a year, but still remains someone to look up to for his previous buddies around the country.
Long-lasting relationships. I'm still friends with all three of, well, of course I'm still friends with Zamari, but I'm friends with the other two littles. We're friends on Facebook.
The organization hopes to create a positive influence on the child, but to Jim, it means so much more than that.
Mentor one kid, change 2 lives. That's, exactly right.
In just a year, Powell and Zamari have grown to be great friends. The big and little bro help each other grow. But ultimately, Powell hopes Zamari just has fun.
Whether it's playing sports or even homework help, the two buddies always look forward to spending time together.
The 8-year-old just can't get enough of his big brother.
He's easy to talk to. He's helpful. He's amazing.
Their trust was established early on, but Powell says it doesn't always come that easy.
It takes about a year sometimes for certain kids to really just get comfortable with you and tell you whatever is on their mind.
No matter how long that takes, the joy both parties receive make it all worth it. Powell hopes more people in the community help out and volunteer.
There is a need in the community. It's very easy. It doesn't take up a lot of time.
As for Zamari and Powell, the two will continue to build their everlasting friendship. In Champaign, Kara Garvey, UI7 News.
From one-on-one on the court to one-on-one in the classroom, meet a community teenager spending hours to educate the youth of Champaign. UI7's Stephen Bardwell is here with more.
After-school programs offer many volunteer opportunities for the community, and one Champaign resident is using this time to get himself better prepared for his future career.
So B would be?
Good. And then can you explain why?
Henry Rothenberg has been tutoring students since he was a freshman in high school. Now, he volunteers his time once a week to work face-to-face with students who need help.
I know in the classroom you're just kind of another face in the crowd, but that's what I like about tutoring is being able to get them more one-on-one and helping them individually.
Rothenberg not only tutors for the benefit of his students, but also to prepare himself in becoming a teacher.
When you're teaching something, you're learning it yourself. So I've been trying to implement that more in my studies, being able to explain the material I'm learning to other people.
One of Rothenberg's students, Veronica Payne, says what she thinks of her tutor.
Like open and like helpful and friendly. Friendly, that's what it is. He's really friendly.
Rothenberg volunteers at Tap In Leadership Academy once a week, giving up to 3 hours of his time tutoring students at local high schools. Tap In Leadership tutors students of all ages, and the academy has been a leader in volunteer opportunities in the Champaign-Urbana area. Lead-in director at Centennial High School, Mariana Martinez, says Rothenberg is everything she could ask for in a tutor.
He works very well with like the kids, and like he seems like he has that drive that we need to see in volunteers.
Volunteering is a small part of Rothenberg's life, and he hopes that the community will make it a part of theirs.
Even if you can just spare like a half hour a day doing something that helps other people, it really makes a difference.
Rothenberg hopes to become a high school biology teacher one day and is currently on the path. In Champaign, I'm Stephen Bardwell, UI 7 News.
In another effort to give back to kids, one woman decided to open up a bookstore. UI7's Sanait Gebregedegas tells you how this woman devotes her time to helping orphans, one book at a time.
Beth Wendling is indeed a book lover. Her basement used to look like this, until one day she decided it was time to make some space.
It was not something that I was intending to start. I didn't wake up and say, hey, I'm going to start a bookstore. I just wanted to get rid of some clutter in my house.
From there, she came to realize what her real purpose was.
I felt like God was asking me to begin this bookstore to help orphans and vulnerable children.
Wendling is a full-time volunteer at Orphans Treasure Box Bookstore. As the founder, she works with volunteers with one major goal. Their net profit goes back to orphans from around the world. Beth first started her book business from selling only 8 books online to now shipping and handling donations of over 40,000 books.
Yes, I work here, 48, 50 hours a week. Yes, I've put money into it myself, but that's nothing compared to what people around the world or people even in this community that are struggling or that are doing.
Julie McClure is a promotions manager of the bookstore. She says Wendling makes her role feel like more than just a job.
She's always pushing us to go further and to do more and to not get comfortable in what we're doing here, because her ultimate goal is to help as many vulnerable kids as she possibly can.
And her passion and the volunteer that she does is what drives that ultimate goal.
I've just seen the need. There is absolutely nothing I could buy for myself that is worth as much as knowing that I've made a difference.
In Champaign, Sanait Gebregedegas, UI7 News.
I know that big brother, big sister story kind of hit home a little bit with both of us having siblings, 2 sisters for me, and
I actually have a few. No, I have a few younger brothers. I've always wished I had a big sister, but I've always been the big sister, so kind of know how it feels to, be an influence on your younger siblings.
I'm technically the older brother because I'm the middle child. Older sister, younger sister, but I'm still somewhat the big brother, right, in the middle. And there was basketball. I kind of wish Kara would have took a shot instead of dribbling, but I don't know. She could probably beat me too, by the way. But and then obviously the books and the tutoring is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, definitely a different way to volunteer and give back to children who need it.
I did a little bit of tutoring last year, and so that was pretty cool. And then the books kind of remind me that I need to read a little more. Perhaps that will sharpen up my mind outside the real world here on set and the whole 9 yards. But it's time for our last trivia question of the day, which is, what is the most common subject for volunteering? Is it fundraising, teaching, tutoring, food, or general labor? We'll have the answer in a bit.
Now for this question, I would have to say food. It seems pretty popular lately.
We'll have the answer in just a little bit.
A volunteer at a Champaign Health Center found her passion through her faith. Later learn why she's so dedicated to volunteering as a nurse.
And we get some non-human interactions. Stay tuned to find out how to get involved with horses in Champaign County. welcome back. This is a special edition of UI7 News called Cheers to Volunteers.
It's a chance for us to report about the people in the Champaign-Urbana area who devote their time to help others.
Before the break, we asked you this trivia question: what is the most common subject for volunteering? Tori, you guessed right earlier. The answer actually is food.
Hospital patients fighting illnesses often benefit a lot from the love and support of their families.
But those family members also need care in order to continue to provide that support for their loved ones. UI7's V. Shahad is here with us now to tell us more about one special volunteer.
The Carle Hospital Foundation's auxiliary provides that needed care for families of hospitalized patients through a complimentary stay in their 2-story guest house. I visited the house and spoke to a volunteer who enjoys taking her time in lending her help and her heart. While doing laundry is typically considered a chore, for Sally Goetz, it's a rewarding way to give back to her community. For the past 3 years, families of patients at Carle Hospital have been lucky enough to have Goetz there to welcome them to a relaxing, home-away-from-home experience while facing a difficult time in their lives. Director of Volunteer Services at Carle Hospital, Megan Holland, who oversees more than 2,000 volunteers within multiple programs, is still able to recognize and appreciate Goet's dedication to her work.
Sally's just great because she has a great smile and a warm heart, and she always makes people feel at home.
She is able to give guests the support they need by providing a listening ear.
Don't push stuff on them. Don't push suggestions on them. Just listen and say, well, I understand. I can relate to that, and let me try to find somebody that can help you with that situation.
Since its establishment in 2003, the Carle Auxiliary Guest House has welcomed in over 23,000 guests through its doors. The service is free for families of hospitalized patients and is funded entirely by outside donations, receiving no financial support from either Carle Hospital itself or patients' fees. For more information on how to donate or volunteer your time, visit the Carle Hospital website at www.carle.org and help the Carle Auxiliary Guest House bring comfort to local families within the community.
I'm here to greet them, to welcome them, that sort of thing. That's very rewarding.
In Urbana, V. Shahab, UI7 News.
Ever since her college years, this Champaign volunteer has been helping out the sick both overseas and at home. She truly lives out her faith. UI7's Brianna Hartsfield has more on the story.
Nursing coordinator Zoe Warner is not your typical nurse. Warner volunteers at least 10 hours a week at the Champaign County Christian Health Center. As a wife, mother, and registered nurse, Warner is used to taking care of others. But it is her faith that motivates her.
I feel like it's also a way that I can be satisfied and fulfill my ministry needs that I personally want to do, and I feel that again, as a Christian, I'm called to. That's just something that I would naturally want to do, is to serve others.
For 11 years, Warner has been volunteering at the same health center. Although the clinic is only open twice a week, Warner is dedicated to the patients that she serves. Other volunteers are amazed at how Warner always goes the extra mile.
She really does, by who she is, set up a relationship of trust. And she can say things to them that are heard, not as much for what she said, because others have said it, it's because of who she is.
Warner, like other nursing coordinators, deal both with patients and behind-the-scenes work. On any given day, she may answer phone calls, check labs, and pull files just for patients.
I feel like I do not want to, as I get older, become less and less active.
To Warner, volunteering here is perfect. It allows her to stay connected with the people that she loves while she does what she loves to do. In Champaign, I'm Brianna Hartsfield, UI7 News.
There are many organizations that help people, but what about those who are a little on the furry side? One Girl proves that a busy schedule shouldn't be an excuse to help pets in the community. CatSnap is an organization that seeks to lower pet overpopulation and improve the health of animals in the Champaign area. Many adults volunteer at CatSnap, but 15-year-old Sarah Windleborn proves that people of any age can make a big difference.
I think just to give the cats like the best future they can have, because a lot of them have had tough lives, and I think that people can hurt or help them, and I want to be somebody who can help them.
Windleborn began working with CatSnap in November, not long after her mother and little sister Emily. She says she volunteers by socializing feral cats, along with drawing blood, giving fluids, grooming, and transferring cats. Fellow CatSnap volunteer Mercy Johnson even has her own name for Windleborn.
She is the cat tamer. She can take a cat that is scared, frightened, and miserable and turn it into the sweetest little kitten ever was.
Windleborn also juggles her regular schoolwork and spends up to 15 hours a week in practices as a gymnast. She says she tries to keep a balance by incorporating her fostering into her schoolwork. This is Smokey. Sarah's been fostering her for about a month, and she says that even though it's difficult, the reward she gains is much greater.
I like to see the transition. I get in cats that are super feral or kittens that are hissing and biting and scratching, and by the end they're really sweet, and that really makes it all worth it.
Johnson says it's young people like Windleborn who give her hope that organizations in the community will keep going.
She steps up every week. She spends her time down here trying to adopt out animals. She interacts with people, educates people. For her age, she's fantastic.
For Windleborn, helping animals is the same as helping people, but sometimes they need a little extra help.
Not all superheroes wear a cape. UI7's Christine Law tells you how volunteers at Share rescue horses and nurture them back to health.
The Society for Hooved Animal Rescue and Emergencies is a non-for-profit humane society. They house, train, and care for over 50 horses at a time. Share relies heavily on their passionate volunteers to rehab and tend to the horses. Haida Fogel has been a volunteer at Share for 4 years. She has learned how to care for them and has grown to love them.
My favorite part is to kind of give them treats. So when they're in, like they're in today, so you have a little bit more one-on-one, because when they're all out in pasture, you don't have any interaction with them.
Fogel visits them every Sunday with their favorite snacks like carrots, apples, or mints. She makes sure each and every horse has fresh water and the appropriate amount of hay. Fogel's time and effort has not gone unnoticed.
Like I said, she's very passionate. She really wants Share to succeed, and she is mature enough to kind of understand what that takes. Once Haida is there, if it needs to be done, she'll make sure it gets done.
Not only is Fogel hands-on with the animals, she also helps with the office work for Share, like PR, to gain more much-needed volunteers.
If you have a passion for horses, Share is the place for you to be. For more information on volunteer opportunities, please email them at sharehorses@gmail.com.
Luckily, you don't have to have any experience to volunteer, just a willingness to learn and passion for the animals. In Champaign, I'm Christine Law, UI7 News.
Well, I have to tell you, this is the first UI7 special show of 2016, and it has been just an absolute blast to do. You meet some incredible people, all ages, even as you just mentioned a little while ago. We've seen you with the cat, even the furry ones, the ones with 4 paws and whatnot, but just an absolute incredible thing to be a part of, not only as an anchor, doing a story, production team, absolute blast.
Definitely. We met some really great people along the way, and it kind of does pave a way to kind of get you to want to volunteer, and I hope that this newscast actually gets people to volunteer as well.
But will you volunteer?
I have volunteered.
I plan on volunteering. I can't be the firefighter.
I don't know if I can be a volunteer firefighter, but I did volunteer in parades. I volunteered at check-ins. I've worked with animals in the past as well. So, I mean, it is a good thing to do. It's a good thing to do. It makes you feel well.
Another thing to learn, and I hope the viewers at home took this away, is there are good people out there. You watch, our show sometimes, and we have crime, and we have sports. Sometimes I do that, and that's something good to cheer you up at the end, or we have our little Hollywood minutes, but when you watch something like this, everything almost tugs at the heartstrings a little bit.
Certainly.
And it was just, once again, that's one of the reasons why it's nice to be a part of, because throughout this entire show, I don't cringe. There's nothing about crime. There's nothing about some guy walking in with a stick and a bat and holding up, I don't know, a gas station, because that's what people hold. That's how you hold up a gas station, is with a bat. We're not telling you to do that. We're telling you to volunteer. Don't hold up gas stations. Volunteer. But it's just absolutely incredible.
No, we have dedicated reporters that really go out there and get to know everybody in the community. That's what's great.
We hope we touch your hearts. That's what we're hoping for.
And that's it for Cheers to Volunteers.
A reminder that there's another special edition of UI7 News on Tuesday.
Next week, the UI7 News team brings you a show about people in our community who love music, creating it, playing it, helping others play it, and dance to it. That's on Tuesday at 5:30.
We leave you tonight with more of a last look on our featured volunteers.
Thanks for joining us, and have a great night.
And a better tomorrow.